Oh my God, I'm in love with this clip. Sam Seder does the biggest self-own on his own show and then tries to cover up, hoping that his audience is too stupid to realize the massive self-own. Okay.
Well, obviously his audience is too stupid to realize it, but we caught it. We see what's going on, Sam Seder, and we're here to highlight it for everyone so we can laugh and point at you.
Now, this clip is called CNN Platforms Lies about consensus in Jewish community around Zionism. Okay.
All right.
So let's jump
Fascinating.
into this. Yeah.
You have somebody on there, there's some basic facts that you should not allow this person to lie about. Let's play this clip.
Well, why have this person on?
Well, I mean, I certainly, after the fact, but, you bring on, I would hope that they have brought on protesters
Jewish Voice
as well.
for Peace demonstrators. How about that?
I would hope that they would have done that, but.
So you describe yourself as Black, Native American, and Jewish. Mm-hmm. You've talked about how your feelings of feeling accepted on the campus changed after October 7th. What has that been like?
It's been really difficult. Again, I went through a lot of this grief process and primarily experiencing this issue in the first semester. That's when I learned that the community that I felt previously so accepted by, specifically because of my identities, all of this was actually conditional, and the one condition is my Jewish identity, which I assumed.
Pause it for 1 second. Now,
before we get into the cell phone, I do find this girl's experience very interesting. And this is, I think, for a lot of people are basically waking up, and we've said this a million times, so many people can only wake up to their side of the political aisle being insane or crazy when suddenly they're attacked, right? When they're part of the mob, they're totally fine. But when suddenly the mob turns to them, they're like, oh, wait a minute, guys. I thought I was on your side. I thought being on the mob, I thought I was like one of the good people. And then suddenly they're like, oh, wait a minute, mobs are bad.
Yeah, yeah. When the mob's after them, they're like, oh, no, this is horrible. I'm innocent.
I liked using all my multiple intersections of minority status identities to be like, look how cool I am. But then it turned out one of those identities, Jewish, was a bad one.
Right. It got me in big trouble.
That's an oppressor class.
Oh, now here's the thing. And we should say, she spoke at that support the genocide rally with the Robert Hagee.
John
Hagee.
Do you like how they get to just classify any pro-Israel support as, well, you're just pro-genocide?
Right. I'm laughing at Sam Seder trying to stumble his way through this.
Well, that's pretty common for Sam. So
yeah, him
and Hassan are on that same tier.
Who said Hitler was?
Without knowing this person or what she's dealing with at school, I do spend a decent amount of time talking to college students, and the idea that this person was singled out because she's Jewish is an absolute lie.
Yeah.
The reason why she is fine, it has nothing to do with her identity. It has to do with what she believes is okay.
Her political, not religious.
Exactly. And she is going to go on and tell a big, big lie, a very easily checkable lie, in a moment to justify her entire premise here. Go ahead.
Okay. Are you ready, Adam? Are you ready to hear this like super obvious, easy to check lie? Sam Seder is going to nail this person.
Yeah, look, I'm excited about this. I hope we get to fact check this.
Oh, I'm so excited. Okay.
One condition is my Jewish identity, which I assumed was also another reason why I was so uplifted, because the Jewish people are a significant minority.
One of the things that your classmates will say is that they are protesting Zionism, which is specifically this movement to create, to develop, to support a Jewish state. Is it legitimate in your view to protest Zionism specifically?
Absolutely not. And there are many different ways you can look at this. But number one is that Zionism makes the Jewish people, 80% of them identify as Zionists, potentially more. I would have to check the statistics, but I know it is.
Pause it. You know what? Let's check the statistics. Because that is an unequivocal lie that when you're on a news program, you can actually check.
Now, Adam, without checking any statistics, do you think, just using your gut intuition, that it's an unequivocal lie that 80% of Jewish people support that the concept, not support that Israel is doing anything specifically with Gaza right now, but support the idea that Israel has a right to exist at all?
Right. Zionism being defined as just Israel having a right to exist in the world.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Okay. I think she said 80% of Jewish people believe that Israel has a right to exist.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is factually correct. If not more, right?
Yeah, I think it's like probably like 95% or something.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yes.
But Sam Seder thinks he has some amazing self-own here.
Yeah.
He thinks
it's an amazing own. He doesn't realize it's a self.
right. Yeah, he thinks he has an amazing own on this woman because he's basically calling her a liar right out of the gate. He thinks that, 50% of Jewish people are like, Israel existing? Nah, fuck it. Like, who cares, right?
Right.
Yeah. So let's see if he's right.
This is back in 2021, May of 2021. A far less controversial time for a Jew to identify as a Zionist. This is Pew Research. They're a fairly reputable outfit.
Mm-hmm.
Let's scroll down a little bit here. Okay. Israel, the world's only Jewish majority country, is subject to special concern by Jews in the United States. Caring about Israel is essential to what being Jewish means to, now, if 80 some odd percent are Zionists, you would imagine it would be pretty high, this figure, right? Like it would be about 80%.
Yeah.
It turns out that it's only, it's not essential to what being Jewish means to more than 45% of Jewish adults. 37% say it's important, but not essential. That doesn't make them Zionists.
Okay. Does Sam Seder know what the word important means?
How, like, it's so funny because you're listening to him watch, Sam pauses a lot, but when I'm hearing him like kind of read this and there's all these pauses before he gets to this point, I feel like he's reading ahead and realizing that he made a huge mistake. Right.
He knows what's going on here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. So you have a poll that Pew did in 2021, and 45% of Jews said that caring about Israel is essential to being Jewish. And another 37% on top of that said it's important, but not essential. Now, let me ask you a question, okay? Do you think, I want you to just speculate here, just guess, that if 37% of the people say that caring about Israel is important, but not essential, do you think that those people believe that the state of Israel should exist?
Oh, of course they do, obviously. They think it's important. It's important that you believe that.
Right.
Yeah.
Shocking how that works, isn't it? Yeah.
Right.
So we have 82% total say that it's either essential or important to care about Israel if you're Jewish. So it looks like that girl was completely correct. 80% is what she said. She nailed it.
Yeah, she did. So she must have looked at these statistics ahead of time. So
yes.
But you can hear in Sam Seder's voice that he is like, uh-oh. It's like, whoa. Uh-oh, it is 80%.
Right.
Wow.
Like maybe he had, the off-screen voice Matt or something, or whoever does their research is like, oh, look, Sam, here's an article. Only 45% of Jews, are really Zionists. You should read this on the camera. And then he reads it and he's like, oh, no.
Yeah, exactly.
I gotta fire this guy. What an idiot. What a
He's
retard.
like, maybe I can hide in the definition of Zionism somehow here.
Right.
Maybe if I don't point out that I'm mistaken, no one will notice, which I think is exactly what happened here.
Yes.
So, but we wanted to point it out because I was like, what?
Well, this is
What's
like
he talking about
this
here?
is such insane like gaslighting attempt. Because first of all, the title of the video is they're claiming that the person is lying. Okay.
Oh yeah, yeah.
When it's very obvious if you just look at the statistics he's looking at, they're not lying. They nailed it. Even though again, saying that you support the right of Israel to exist is a very different question than saying is it essential to being Jewish or important to being Jewish. Those are completely different questions. I would wager that the number of people that are Jews that support Israel's right to exist is even higher
Yeah.
than this.
99%. I mean,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, there's that weird sect of Jews that are very anti-Israel because the Messiah didn't create it or whatever, but they're going to do whatever they're going to do. So, and it's just wild to me. It's just wild to me that they try to gaslight, and I guess it's successful. His audience doesn't realize that he made this super obvious mistake. They just go along with it.
Well, they're not reading the screen, and he misread the quote in the beginning. So
Right.
yeah.
Well, it's funny too because the same Pew Research study, they did an article, like they have a bunch of articles about the same studies, and a different article about the same poll results even says right in the top of it, 8 in 10 U.S. Jews say caring about Israel is an essential or important part of what being Jewish means to them.
Right. Essential or important. Yeah.
8
Okay.
in 10. Oh,
He's
my
like, what if
God.
it's not, if it's only important? It's not essential.
Or if it's only important, then that means they obviously don't support the right of Israel. Maybe, okay, listen, maybe here's the problem. Maybe in his entire life, Sam Seder doesn't know what the word Zionism even means. Okay. Maybe he doesn't
That
know
could
this.
be.
Right.
That could definitely be. Yeah. At this point, it's just a slur.
Yeah, well, that's true.
There is no assessing like whether the people perceive themselves as Zionists. And I got news for you. That number is much lower today.
Oh yeah, and like,
Much lower.
Even in 20.
See, he's totally hedging here. He's like,
Yeah.
he's like, oh, well, these numbers are, I mean, they're lower today.
Right.
After-
The cope. Oh my God.
After the Gaza situation.
Yes.
Are they lower today? I mean,
Of course not. Maybe
after
among like
October
this,
7th, maybe
Right, I
they're
know.
higher today.
maybe among like some of these kids, probably but like amongst the woke kids, it's 99%.
2011, there was a Pew poll that we talked about last week that twice as many white evangelical Protestants as Jews say that Israel was given to the Jewish people by God, and that's 82% versus 40%. So it gives people a sense of like what are some of the other political forces driving this, and why this student might be on stage with someone like John Hagee, who said Hitler was sent by God to create Israel.
Kufi is a much bigger organization, but the point is that why I resent it is that she's out there basically saying, I'm not Jewish because I don't subscribe to Zionism or, Israel's policies. And it's a lie.
First of all, they didn't say that.
Yeah.
Okay, they just made that up. We just watched the clip. She didn't say if you don't support Israel, you're not Jewish. That didn't happen. Nothing like that even happened, number one. Number two, I don't even know if Sam knows what it means to be a Zionist. So when he says he's not a Zionist, does he believe that Israel should never have existed or doesn't currently in the year 2024 have a right to exist? Does he think Israel should just be dismantled and replaced with some other kind of country?
I'd like him to weigh in on that question.
Yeah, because that's a pretty extreme view. I've seen a lot of people on the left who are Jewish who have definitely changed their view over the course of this war and become very pro Israel should stop bombing Gaza. They're killing too many people. There's too much collateral damage. They should do a ceasefire. Like that is a common view to hear among people on the left that are Jewish. But none of those people have ever said that they don't think Israel should cease to exist as a country. They've never said anything like that. And they would never say anything like that. This is preposterous.
Yeah. I just looked up Zionism just online, a movement for originally the reestablishment and now the development and protection of a Jewish nation in what is now Israel.
Right.
It was established as a political organization in 1897 under some guy.
Hmm.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's just Zionism means you think Israel has a right to exist. So does Sam Cedar not think Israel has a right to exist?
I
Is he
guess
saying,
not.
look, I am not a Zionist. I think Israel should be dissolved.
Yeah, I guess so.
Well, let us know, Sam. It's an interesting perspective you got over there. So,
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of the reason why people are mad at these protesters is because they think that they think like Israel is a colonial power in the
Right.
Middle East and that they should be dissolved and all the land should be given back to Palestine and the Palestinian people. Is that what you believe, Sam Cedar?
No,
If
listen,
so,
he
you should
like
make a
these.
video explaining that to us.
Maybe he, like these fairy tale college students, believe like all the Jews and Palestinians in the region should all live together in a magical multicultural democracy, Western liberal democracy, or socialist country, that's Sam's choice, where they all just magically get along. Because even though no one on any side wants that, they're gonna force it and just hope it works, right?
Should they change the name of the nation from Israel to Palestine? Is that what
That's a
he's
good
advocating
question.
for?
Yeah. It is interesting because all these people on the left who are very, very anti the U.S. involvement in Iraq and Afghanistan, right? And the idea was, oh, George W. Bush was like, we can go in there and we can like, make it a democracy, right?
Yeah.
And people on the left criticize that because obviously it didn't work. And it's so weird to me that they think their wacky idea that they can go into this region and basically force two groups of people that don't want to live together under this system to live together under a system in their
Yeah.
fantasy.
How's
In
it
their
any
fantasy.
different?
Yeah.
How's it any different? Yeah.
Yep.
Bonkers.
It's a lie that if it had been used in the other way, if someone was accused of operating because they're Jewish in Israel's interests, simply because they're Jewish, you might get censured in Congress for people even misinterpreting
Dual
what you said
loyalty.
about that. Yes, it's just unbelievable that she can go on there and say this without any type of pushback. It's offensive to me as a Jew. In addition to it being just offensive from a perspective of just like what the reality is.
Yeah.
The fact of the matter.
It's offensive that she said something that turned out to be actually true.
Factually correct. Yeah. Look, facts often offend Sam Cedar. So you got to understand his personal perspective, right? Especially when those facts go against his personal narrative.
Mm-hmm. Oh my God.
Matter is that the percentages of Jews who are represented in these protests, both as a percentage of like Jews in the specific populations of these different universities, and just in terms of raw numbers, is probably significantly higher than any other on a per capita basis than any other identification whatsoever.
That's
They keep making this claim, and I've never seen them produce any evidence of this.
Mm-hmm.
I've never seen all of these, pro-Palestinian protesters come out and say, we're Jewish. And all I ever see are videos of people who are Jewish, who are against it, and then chastising them,
Right.
calling them Zionists and telling them to get out of the protest.
Yeah, I mean,
We're-
I'm sure they exist, but it's funny because they keep using them as tokens, right? It's like whenever whenever Sam Cedar or one of these other people would accuse someone of being racist, right? And they're like, I can't be racist, look,
Yeah.
there's a black person
I have a
here.
Jewish friend in
Right,
my, in my
exactly.
protest.
There's a Candace Owens here. There's a what was the Larry the Elder guy?
Yeah, Larry Elder.
Larry Elder. Larry the Elder. Larry the Elder. Larry Elder. Like whenever you have like a black person who says something conservative, it's all like, oh my God, they're a token, they're an Uncle Tom. It's all all these like things. And then it's like, oh, but listen, I can't be anti-Semitic because look, I have a Jewish friend in the protest. Look, there's Jews in the protest. I'm not tokenizing them. I'm not using them as a shield. It's just so hypocritical. So obviously hypocritical.
Well, if there are Jewish people in the protest, why aren't they sending them out as the ambassador to these Jewish people that are like, they want to come and confront them
Right.
and tell them they don't like what they're doing?
I mean,
It always seems like it's a
Right.
bunch of, Palestinian garb people confronting them.
I've seen a couple of videos where there is someone who claims that they're Jewish to do that. And actually, there's a funny article that was about, some journalists would go to some of these college protests and they wanted to speak to someone, and none of the students will speak to them because they're all like
Because
cowards.
they're a Zionist.
Well, no, because they're like, it's so funny. So all the students are like, we have a free speech right to protest, and yet when a person from the media says, "Oh, do you want to tell me like what you're protesting about?" They say, I've been instructed not to talk to you. You can talk to an official media representative for the protest," right? So the free speech protest that they're advocating for, the people in the protest don't actually have the free speech right to talk to journalists. They have to direct them towards a media trained individual.
Well, they don't want to mess it up,
Yeah,
obviously.
because they're going to say something that they believe that's crazy and is going to make the movement look bad. So they have to have the specific media person come out and sugarcoat everything. Or, as often the case, that's why I brought it up, is that a lot of times they do have their like token Jew person come out and be like, "I'm the media person. I'm Jewish. I'm not anti-Semitic," right?
Right. Yeah, I have my Jewish shield.
And to be
Here's my APAC card.
And to be clear, the clip that they're reacting to, and like this, Sam's very like way of reacting to this is so retarded. But the newscaster lady asked the student, is it possible for you to sort of criticize Zionism without criticizing Judaism, right? Or can you be anti-Zion without being anti-Jewish? And well, I think that that's definitely true. You can be anti the concept of Israel existing without being anti-Semitic, obviously, that is possible, but it's very dumb that like, and they were saying this in the beginning of the clip, that they think it's like this very clear line of division between the two things. When it's like, well, you understand, like, I get it. You're not automatically anti-Semitic if you don't like Israel or don't support the right to exist. But it's a very murky area. You understand that, right? It is a pretty murky area. And it is also very close to being against someone on the basis of their religion, right?
If there were 5 Jewish states in the world and, one you thought was in a needless conflict and you were like, well, that state should be dissolved, you'd have firmer ground to stand on than the fact that there's just one Jewish state in the entire world. And you're saying, yeah, that Jewish state's got to go.
Sure,
right?
sure. Yeah, no, I mean, that is true. And it's like, if people were just like, hey, I think they should have a ceasefire. I think they should stop, the collateral damage is too high, right? Like, that's the way the protests used to be. And that was like, okay, yeah, like that's not an anti-Semitic position, right?
No, of course not.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's firm ground.
But when it turns to this like virulent, like hatred of just the existence of Israel in the first place, even existing, that's when the eyebrows start to go up. You're like, this is a little suspect here. This is very sus. What's going on here?
Yeah, it's awful.
That's what the demonstrators are saying, in part because they're trying to get the word out that their religious identity and cultural identity is being weaponized by people who don't have their best interests at heart to further a genocide, and yet there's blackout on the media front on that. Why?
The irony every time we talk about this just never ceases. Like, amaze me.
I don't know, what bubble are they living in? This is like insane.
Well, just these obviously woker than woke progressives talking about people weaponizing their identity.
I know, it's a
like,
joke. Yeah,
it's just comical.
That's why they're
comical.
so mad. They're like, these Jews
They're
are stealing our weapon.
move. Yeah, exactly. That's our signature move. They're doing our thing. They're doing the thing that we do.
Hey, that was ours. These Jews are culturally appropriating our signature weapon. What the heck?
I know. Oh, God.
Why not bring on a Jewish Voice for Peace person to explain that? That might be interesting to your audience, right? If they already feel that that Zionism equals Judaism, perhaps this could be a new angle. But then they bring on someone to reinforce that. I mean, let's be clear about what their bias is. Even though the polling about what Israel is doing is just like plummeting, mass disapproval.
I mean, 75% of Democrats now? And we know that
There's I feel like there is an interesting conversation you could have about this. I don't think any of the people would be equipped to have it, because you could be like, well, like say you have someone come on and say, well, I'm anti-Zionism, but I'm not anti-Jewish. You're like, well, why are you anti-Zionist? And they're like, well, because, you had people came to a land, and they took it and it wasn't theirs and blah, 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 blah. And I think if you sort of like went through that whole argument chain and you really sort of evaluate it, you kind of get to this point where it's like the view is that the Jewish population are like white European colonizers. They literally call them settler colonialists. And so they say, okay, the Jews that came here are like the evil white racist colonizers that are oppressing the brown people. So it's like, oh, okay, so your view of being anti-Zionist, it's not anti-Semitic, it's just racist.
Right.
It's just a race
anti-white.
issue. Right.
Yeah.
You're viewing this through the lens of like white people bad, white people must be European colonizers, even though obviously they weren't. There are people fleeing. And also there are lots of non-white Jews living in the area who, just live there. And, they're viewing it through that lens. That's the real reason why they care so much about this. That's why, all these kids, where was all the protest that was demanding that the colleges divest from China because China's engaged in the Uyghur genocide? And I can guarantee you that these colleges are getting lots of money involved with lots of businesses that are involved in China, right?
Yeah, of
Yet,
course.
not a peep, nothing about it, right? Despite all of the financial entanglements with China, none of these kids care about the Uyghur genocide. It's because, well, it's not white people doing it, so it's fine, I guess.
Yeah, they're also not equipped to make this argument because they're on the opposite side of the argument when it comes to migrants from South America fleeing economic and political persecution.
Of course, they're all like, open the borders. And then, it's like, well, you understand that's like literally what happened.
Israel was basically formed the same way. Yeah, the
exactly.
economic and political refugees were fleeing Europe because they were killing them.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So they moved to the Middle East and settled there.
Yes.
Same way as the South American people from South and Central America want to do in the United States. And you're like, oh, yeah, open the doors, let them in. Look, they're refugees.
Well, and that's what's so wild, too, because it's like it is the same exact scenario. They're all against the Republicans that are against, they're like, close the borders, keep them out. And at the time that you had, a lot of Jews immigrating to Israel throughout the early 1900s, it was, a lot of, Arabs in the region saying, no, close the borders, keep the Jews out.
Yes, of course.
Yes. It's like this. It's for some reason, the leftists are now on that side of things. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
Jews are one of the most consistent Democratic voting blocs in the country.
Yeah. How does MAGA feel about Israel?
It's just unbelievable. Yeah, bring on somebody from Kufi. If you want to talk about who the supporters are, bring on a couple of Christian Zionists, and let's hear about their support of Israel.
All right. Well, that was cancer.
That was hilarious when you read Sam Seder so confidently is like, this girl's lying, and then reads how she's completely correct and is like, oh, listen, let me change the subject a little bit.
Hi, you just listened to a Sitch and Adam recorded video. That's right, we're still doing recorded videos. And of course, we're still doing our live streams. Our Sunday live stream begins at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. And our daily live streams start at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. Come check it out. You're gonna love it. Subscribe to this channel right here to watch the live show or watch more of our awesome deep dive videos.